Picture it. You're sitting around the kitchen table. It's 2 a.m. and you're talking about life's biggest challenges while eating cheesecake. Weight loss journeys, they come up a lot, usually between bites of the cheesecake. Now, imagine having a trusted partner in that journey, one that doesn't judge you for the cheesecake, but does help you reach your goals. That's LifeRX. LifeRx connects you with doctor-guided GLP-1 medication support. Affordable, no insurance needed, delivered straight to your door. Think of it as having your trusted friend's wisdom, but for your health. Sharp, straightforward, no BS. With 24/7 customer service and telehealth appointments, it's like having a friend you can call anytime. Except this friend is a licensed medical professional who actually returns your calls. Crazy. There's no hidden fees, just real support from real doctors. Because your weight loss journey should feel less like going it alone and more like you've got your girls backing you up. Are you ready to take that first step? Tap the link in the show notes of this episode and use my code Alan to learn more and to start your journey today. Now, let's get on with the show, because thank you for being a friend means supporting each other's health too. Now I want some cheesecake. Picture it, Los Angeles, 2026. And welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you're ever going to need to listen to. I am HAlanScott, and as you can see, I am flying it solo this week because Kerri is on baby duty with little Coco and little Oreo. So she's, very busy. But I am not flying solo this week. No. I have a very, very special guest on today's episode. This person has been a long time listener of the podcast, who's a pop culture writer, entertainment writer, who's just one of my favorite people. Great Instagram follow. Like, this one is a fun episode. And the actual inspiration for this episode came from him. My guest today is Hiko Mitsuzuka. Now, Hiko is just fantastic. And we often DM about when we see Golden Girls guest stars, particularly Herb Edelman, on other shows. And recently we were DMing about Herb Edelman on Knots Landing. And that gave me the idea of, which I mentioned on a previous episode of the podcast, a Herb Edelman deep dive, if you will. And so that is exactly what Hiko and I are doing today. Now, as you know, I love a Herb Edelman. I do. I love Stanley. I love Stan. There's a soft spot I have in my heart for Stan. I know he's a schmuck. I know he's a fuck up. I know he screwed up Dorothy's life in lots of ways, but I just love Stanley. I do. And so today we're doing a focus on not just Stanley stories, although we will, in the last segment, we will talk about, of course, the Stanley of it all and why he was literally the fifth Golden Girl and the best guest star on the Golden Girls. But in the first segment, we're going to do a deep dive into just who the hell Herb Edelman is and the things that I discovered about Herb Edelman. I mean, I didn't realize that there was such a large age gap between B. Arthur and Herb Edelman. I didn't realize that Herb Edelman was in a very controversial television program in the early 1970s because it was in a bathhouse. Didn't know that. I didn't know that Herb Edelman has a really serious connection to director Mike Nichols. Had no idea about, and Neil Simon too, had no idea about that. I learned so much about Herb Edelman doing this episode of the podcast, and I think you are also going to learn a lot about Herb Edelman during this episode of the podcast. I'm going to keep this intro quick because I want to get to, obviously, Hiko and the Herb of it all. But also, I want to say two things. On the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour, Hiko is joining me as well to deliver a hot take. He delivered a hot take on this episode about the final episode of the Golden Girls, which you're going to want to listen to. But he also delivered a hot take about an annoying prop situation that involves one of the girls. That is, it shocked me when he said it. I did not see it coming. So go to the Patreon, subscribe there. There's a $5 and the $8 level. At both levels, you'll get this episode, the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. So go and subscribe to that. And we're obviously we still are putting things on Patreon because we do that every single week. But we're gonna do a live watch along soon. It's just schedules because of Kerri's, situation with the babies and stuff that require a little bit more attention and planning than we normally have. So we will get back to the watch alongs. Thank you for being patient with that. But go to the Patreon for that very spicy hot take that Hiko has on the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour. And the other thing I did say in the first segment of this episode that there's an episode of Murder She Wrote where it's like all three of Dorothy's men, Herb, Jerry Orbach, and Alex Rocco. They Alex, Jerry, and Alex played Glenn. I must have just manifested it or like dreamed it because in the episode it's only Jerry and Alex. It's not Herb as well. But Herb was in a bunch of episodes of Murder She Wrote as well. So that was my bad. I'm saying that up top so no one gets angry in the comments and then you don't hear it at the afterwards, but you get angry and you comment before you hear it and all the things. Don't get angry at me. So yeah, it's a fantastic episode. I love Herb Edelman so much, and I think you're gonna love him even more after listening to today's episode. So sit back. I'm doing I literally was gonna do my tradition that I do on the Parting Shot podcast. Oops. Woo. So we will be right back with Hiko to talk all about Herb Edelman. Stanley. Hi, it's me, Stan.
Hi, it's me, Stan.
Hiko, hello. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much.
So first off, you've been a long-time listener of the podcast. You've been a friend of the pod for years and years. You've come to the live shows, but you are also you're in the pop culture space as well. So tell me I guess I know what you do, but tell listeners a little bit about what you do and who the hell you are.
Yeah. I'm a writer, different kinds of writing. I've been a copywriter for ad agencies, writing TV commercials, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I've been an entertainment journalist, writing for different websites and magazines. I'm currently a contributor for Mashable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been out here in LA for more than 20 years. I'm like,
And what is it about the girls? Because like our friendship is based obviously in the girls. So like, what is it about the girls that continues to be a source of joy and love and inspiration in your life?
I feel like you've covered this ad nauseum with so many other guests, but
We never get tired of hearing it.
I don't know, of course not. I was one of those people who grew up. I remember catching the episode's first run Saturday nights on NBC when I was a wee lad, preteen kind of, and teasing my grandmother whenever she went out to like just go to the grocery store. She had to get all dolled up and put on makeup. And I remember being little and asking her or
That's
telling
me
her
now. That's
kind of
literally
like
me now. Yes.
I remember watching her looking in the mirror, putting her makeup on, and I tell her, "Why do you have to? You know, you're not a golden girl. You don't have to dress up every time you go out."
There's so much joy. I mean, honestly, I never thought I would be this, but I relate to my mother, your grandmother, etc. in that this happened to me yesterday. I literally was just going out for, I forget what we were doing, something stupid, something small. I had to put on some tinted moisturizer. I had to put on a little bit of mascara, just a little bit of a lip, because you just don't know. You don't know. I have had moments. I'm not saying I'm famous. I'm not saying I'm important. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is there have been moments where I've been caught off guard where somebody says, let's take a picture, and I look horrible. And so that will never happen to me ever again.
Yeah, well, especially living in LA, like you never know who you're going to bump into, and then it's plastered on social media. So
forever. Yeah.
But yeah, I grew up. I remember the first run episodes on Saturday nights. I remember watching the finale, and it just at different stages of your life, the show means different things.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was like, oh, those old ladies, talk funny and crack jokes and do sometimes inappropriate things. And then it wasn't really until, and then of course, I would always catch reruns as I got older if they were on cable. And then, of course, then the DVDs came out in the 2000s.
No, I want to stick with the DVDs for a second because I feel like from a fan perspective, we don't talk about this enough.
Mhm.
The seismic shift in our consumption of the girls changed when the DVDs finally
Yeah.
became available because it was a slow burn. There were other shows that had the full, the seasons by DVDs, but the Golden Girls, it felt like it was taking a hot second. And so like when those DVDs came out, I remember living in New York scouring for days to get them.
Yeah, I was kinda new to LA because it was in the 2000s. I've been here for a while now. And just checking out Target or Best Buy whenever they came out and
Mhm.
nabbing that season on the box set. And
And they were expensive.
yeah, like, yeah, more than $30 maybe?
Oh, definitely more than 30 bucks
Yeah.
because I remember back in the day, I was like, "I think anything should always be 20 bucks." You know what I mean? Like a season of TV should just be 20 bucks because it's like a dollar an episode or maybe 30, I'll do 30. But like,
Yeah.
for some reason, I'm remembering them being like in the 50 range, but I could be
Oh,
wrong.
maybe like a
Yeah.
49.99,
Yeah.
or yeah, if they were on sale.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember, yeah, watching the DVDs, and this was like a good still 10 years before they started streaming. But I
Mhm.
remember watching the DVDs, and I prided myself before the DVDs, prided myself on having watched every single episode.
Yeah.
And then there was one, because I had it on autoplay one night and it just came, the next episode played
Yeah.
on. And it was the Martin Mull episode from
Mhm.
season 6, I think,
Mhm. Mhm.
where Dorothy and Sophia are doing Meals on Wheels,
Yeah.
and he's trapped in his apartment since the 60s.
Mhm.
And that was the first time I'd ever seen it on DVD. That was like the one episode I had completely missed in like my
Wow.
whole life.
The
And
joy of seeing that for you, you must have been so happy.
yeah, like being like older in your 20s and then seeing an episode that was
Mm.
new to you, that like
Oh.
blew my mind. So that particular episode has that special
Well, and
significance
that
to me.
the DVD on autoplay, I mean, there's a meme for days of the trigger of the menu music coming on, you fall asleep to the DVD, and then you get woken up. That's the one menu music I never really minded getting woken up to.
No, and it's the perfect, like, easing, relaxation, meditative,
Yeah.
instrumental, or,
Yes.
that it's perfect for bedtime, of
It's
course, yeah.
perfect for bedtime. So you came up with the theme of today's episode, which is a deep dive into, or you and I as DMs came up with the sort of the focus on this because we've never really. I mean, I have professed my love for Herb Edelman over the years and for Stanley over the years, just because even though he is a schmuck, I find him to be so. I mean, the character Stanley, I find him to be so sweet, and I don't wanna say redeeming because I don't think he ever redeems himself, but he is just a lovable fuck up in a way that he's kinda like Steve on Sex and the City and that, like, I can't help but not root for him because even though he fucks up, I'm just like, "I love you." You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you nailed it with the word schmucky,
Yeah.
because, yeah, that's who he is, and I have to admit, even though, I've probably watched the entire series in its entirety, more
Mhm.
more than a dozen times by now, you know, if I have my choice while streaming them, it won't be my preferred episode to watch if it's a
Mm.
Stan-centric episode. I
Mhm.
feel guilty a little for saying that, especially if
Mm.
we're discussing him, but
No.
it's never my go-to if I'm gonna randomly pick something, but,
Yeah. I
the
think most
episode.
Golden Girls are like that. I don't think there is any hardcore stans out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I think everyone is a stan of Stan in relation to Dorothy, and that is it. Like, it is they go to those episodes for Dorothy's reaction to Stan,
Oh,
and
yeah, and
that's
her burns.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why they're in there is because of that. So, like, yeah, I just don't see, like I don't see anyone going crazy over Stan episodes. But that said, you're always enjoying a Stan moment, right?
Of course, yeah.
I
When he shows up, he either has some kinda scheme up his sleeves, or,
Yeah.
he's gonna make a fool of himself,
Yes.
but, I mean, there was some good character evolution for him. He did have a good arc, I think, throughout the series,
Yeah.
all 7 seasons, 'cause, he gets remarried. He
Yeah.
almost gets remarried to Dorothy.
Well, we're going to talk more
Yeah,
about the story of Stan in the second segment, but I want to start a little bit with Herb Edelman right now. So, like, one of the things that you and I have DM'd about is seeing Herb in the random shows, the Knots Landings, the Murder She Wrote. I mean, Herb's career, I have to admit, I've never really done a deep dive into sort of who this man was
yeah,
other than seeing him on random episodes of Golden Girls or of Murder She Wrote or Knots Landing or whatever. I never really sort of looked into who he is. I didn't know so he was obviously born and raised in New York, like, New York Jew, like
yeah.
all of those things.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. He went to Brooklyn College for acting. But his career really started because of Mike Nichols. So Mike, like, I didn't know this, but so he was a taxi driver. That was how he was making money in, like, I
Mm,
think the early 60s. And Mike Nichols was one of his passengers. And I think they connected, and Mike cast him in the Broadway production of Barefoot in the Park. And then he ultimately played the same part. It was like I forget this, it was a small part, but he played the same part in the film version starring Jane Fonda and Robert Redford. But, like,
mm,
Mike Nichols was kind of instrumental in not only Herb's career in entertainment, but then also too, it started this sort of chain of productions where Herb was in Neil Simon productions. So he was also in the Odd Couple. He also had done a thing in California Suite, that fantastic Maggie Smith film from the late 70s, another
yeah.
Neil Simon. And so, like, he had this basis as an actor. I mean, he primarily is known for his television work, obviously. He did some not prolific, he did a lot of great character work. He was never necessarily the star of something, but he was always sort of the character actor within a piece. What's a project of Herb's that you've noticed? I mean, you want to talk, I know, about Knots Landing, but what's something of Herb outside of Golden Girls that stands out to you?
But yeah, I mean, growing up and loving the show so much, I just remember being surprised because I also was a tangential Murder She Wrote fan.
Yes.
My mom loved watching it every Sunday night,
Mhm.
and I would kind of watch it with her. And while I was watching Golden Girls on Saturday night, I would then see him show up as like a lieutenant detective or whatever
Mhm.
on Murder She
He
Wrote instead.
primarily played Lieutenant Artie Gelber. That was his main role, but he was in about 10 episodes between 1984 and 1995. In fact, it was one of his last credits was a Murder, She Wrote episode. I think
Oh
his
yeah,
last credit is an episode of Mommies, that sitcom from the 90s. But,
yeah,
like, he
95, yeah.
yeah, yeah, but he played a therapist in that. But, like, one of his last credits is Murder, She Wrote.
Which that show ended in '96, and then
Yeah.
he unfortunately passed away in '96, which I didn't
At the age of
realize.
only 62. He was only 62,
Ah,
which is crazy to me. So, I've always thought of him as being around B. Arthur's age, maybe a little bit older, but he in fact was 11 years younger than B. Arthur.
wow, yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't yeah, and it's I mean, yeah, now 30 it was 30 years ago we lost him,
Mhm.
and I can see how I remember reading about how B. Arthur really took to Herb really well, like, they got
Yeah.
along well. She must have appreciated the casting of him as her ex-husband 'cause, she really appreciated him.
Well, so that Herb's 70s career, I think if you're looking at sort of his career in general, the 60s, there was a lot of theater work and there was some film work in there. And of course, he was just getting started. But it really was in the 70s that he sort of became a character of someone who is unlikable. In a lot of productions of stuff, he was unlikable. There was one production. He did a bunch of different things in the 70s. A few different appearances here and there, but there are two things that he did in the 70s. He was a regular on a series for a bit called The Good Guys from 68 to 72. It was a oh God, the guy from Bob Deaver. Bob Deaver, is that his name? Bob Deaver?
I
Well, I'm gonna look him up. Hold on. This is what I'm gonna do. We're doing it in real time.
not Bob Denver.
Yeah, Bob D yeah, no, from Gilligan's Island. I'm sorry, Bob
Oh,
Denver from
Bob Denver.
why do I say Deaver? Bob Denver from Gilligan's Island. He was in a part of Good Guys. And so that was a pretty popular show from 68 to 72. But there are two credits of Herb from the 70s that I wanna highlight. One is a fairly controversial play that I think originally aired on Showtime in the 70s because it had
Hmm,
nudity, but was also on like a PBS type thing. And it was a play called Steam Bath. And the production, it's a play, I'm just reading the description, presents the afterlife as a steam bath in which recently deceased souls who may not even realize that they're dead continue to obsess about the same petty concerns they had when they were alive. I want to play a clip of Herb in this on a little opening monologue he has early in the play that I thought was particularly weird and funny. Okay.
And they were...
You have no idea what those skirts have meant to members of my generation. What a skirt like that means to a fella who would sit through the same movie 7 times, willing to sell himself into bondage on a farm in Mississippi if he could just see an eighth of an inch of Ann Rutherford's inner thigh. And then there they are, out of the blue, those little peachy caca skirts. And the girls wearing them, more beautiful than Ann Rutherford herself, are handing out massive looks at their thighs and crotches. No one has properly realized the effect of all that exposed and quivering flesh on a national character, and my generation is condemned to watch this country, representing one of the greatest social experiments in Western civilization, choke itself to death on an easy diet of boobies and tuchuses.
Now, if you're listening to this, which most of you are missing out. You should go to YouTube or Patreon immediately because you are missing out on seeing I guess he would have been middle-aged at that point, maybe just in his 30s, even though he looked middle-aged. Herb Edelman standing in a room. There's a woman who's topless and her breasts are covered with her hair, I believe. And she has a towel around her waist. He is in a towel. It is the longest towel. It literally goes from his belly button, and it's essentially a skirt, down to his ankles. It's a towel that, I'm sorry, as a fat person, I want. And it is such a wild image of Herb Edelman doing this monologue. But this was a fairly controversial production because it had nudity on television. I don't think Herb got naked. I kind of hope not. But it definitely, or maybe I hope, I don't know. I'm very pro naked. But he's in this towel in this production. Wild, right?
Wow. I mean, when I first heard it, well, first, it's kind of a timely monologue that can still be reflective today. But also hearing it, the tone and his almost like a rant of it. It's like, of course, he's the male equivalent of like a B. Arthur. That was like a very B. Arthur monologue.
Yes. Very well, and so it's interesting you say that because I don't know when B and Herb's relationship as performers started, but Herb did do a guest appearance on Maude on an episode called Maude the Boss, and they have a great back and forth. And so I want to play a little bit of a clip of Herb and Maude, or Herb's character Maude, going at it in this episode. It's his end. You have to listen to the end of his line because it is so good.
Maude, you do your job and we'll do ours and everything's going to be okay, all right?
No, Woody. Now look, Woody, I know why you're acting the way you're acting, Woody.
You think you do?
Woody!
Okay, Maude, you want to talk? Have a seat.
Now you see, there you go. Woody, would you have done that for a man? Would you have pulled out a chair for a man?
No, I wouldn't.
My point exactly. Now listen to me, Woody. I am not a woman. Do you understand me, Woody? I am a person like you are a person. Bud is a person. Tom is a person. I am a person, Woody. Do you understand?
Okay. Now, I'd like to get to my desk, person. So could you move your boobs out of the way?
You really see in that clip the beginnings of Stan and Dorothy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the few episodes I have seen of Maude, I've seen, I think that one, and I was surprised that I didn't even know that he was on it until I watched the episode, however long ago. And then just to see, these are all the precursors and inklings and hints at what's to come on the Golden Girls. And then even seeing, Rue on Maude too was always a tickle for me when I first caught episodes of Maude.
For sure. Seeing early Rue in anything is wild because you really see the range of Rue McClanahan. But with Herb, what's interesting about Herb Edelman during this period of his life is that he was setting the stage for being a very reliable guest star or character actor. He was setting the stage for being a reliable man character, that man who is either a detective, lieutenant, the guy who's kind of like in charge, but what I find so fascinating about Herb Edelman as an actor is that while he did play these very aggro male characters, I would argue, that they are supposed to be, they think of themselves as men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something vulnerable about Herb in that as an actor, he's able to share a scene with someone like B. Arthur and allow her to dominate him. And there's this mutual respect that he has, I think, for the strength of some of his female characters, because you see it you see it in clips from Saint Elsewhere, you see it in clips from Murder She Wrote, even where he does this sort of reliable dance with these female stars in a way that shows he has respect for their role, their dominating role in this scene, and he knows his character, you know?
Yeah, I think he can get away with that. I don't know if that's for lack of a better phrasing, but because he's not the conventionally attractive matinee idol looks kind of leading man.
Yep.
So it positions him in a different spotlight and a different way of exploring his character and acting. Probably it affects his acting, where he can operate on a different level with his female opposite leading ladies. So
Yeah.
I think that has something to do with it too.
Well, and to add to that, in the era in which, that this was being made, or that his career was really flourishing, it was the women's rights movement, and Gloria Steinem and Maude and all of these sort of really powerful voices among women were coming out, and Herb had a role to play because Maude can't have Maude can't be amazing if she doesn't have someone to make her look amazing in a lot of ways, to combat with in that scene, and to really point out the absurdity of some male ideas and male point of views and the sort of the old chauvinistic ways. And Herb really was of service to sort of allow that kind of messaging.
Like the perfect textbook counterpart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. On so many levels. And he would continue to do that in roles for years to come. One role that I find particularly interesting is on Saint Elsewhere. He did a bunch of episodes as Richard Clarendon, that was his character's name, from 84 to 88 on Saint Elsewhere. But what makes his time on Saint Elsewhere interesting is that he was in a relationship with Christina Pickles, I believe her name is, the actress. She plays
Monica's
mom.
Yep.
Exactly, on Friends. And they were in it was just sort of rumored. I don't think it was confirmed. They were in a relationship until his death. It says, at least on his Wikipedia, that he was romantically linked with her from the mid 80s, likely around when he started in St. Elsewhere, because she was on St. Elsewhere for its entire run, I believe, until his death. So, and his death was right around when Friends started. So it really gives you context for Monica's mom at the very beginning of Friends,
Yeah, wow.
Wild, right? I love these kind of deep dives because you learn so much. It makes you go back and you watch these episodes of The Golden Girls with Stan, and I kind of look at Stan in a different way.
Well, I don't know, this is how my brain operates too. Like, I'll think about like the behind the scenes. I'm like, oh, they shot this episode, director calls cut, and I imagine like the actor walking off set, going outside the studio, meeting his loved one, or just what their lives are like beyond the studio, walls.
I think the exact same thing. But during this period, showing this Maude clip, I show it intentionally because if you watch the Academy of Television's interview with B. Arthur, it's a long one, and we've covered it on this podcast before, but that she has an immense, like you were referring to earlier, an immense respect for Herb Edelman on a level that it almost like she's fawning over him, because she, as a great actor and performer herself, recognizes the complicated role that Herb had to play in that dance between, he couldn't be completely unlikable on the Golden Girls, but he also couldn't be likable at the same time. And Herb, as an actor, I think personified that, both in this appearance on Maude, but also in many of his other roles as well, that he kind of had to be, for lack of a better word, a schmuck all the time.
Yeah.
Wild. And then Murder, She Wrote. So I want to end on Murder, She Wrote, or Knots Landing, actually. It's not Murder, She Wrote and Knots Landing. So after the Golden Girls and during the Golden Girls, he guest starred on a lot of television and a couple of films as well. But for us, Murder, She Wrote and Knots Landing were like the big ones. I'll do the Murder, She Wrote part.
Yeah.
So like, Y'all know how much I love Murder, She Wrote. And there's one episode of Murder, She Wrote where it's like all of Dorothy's exes. I mean, it's both, the Law and Order actor, what's his name? Excuse me.
Jerry Orbach.
Thank you, Jerry Orbach. It's Jerry Orbach and both the characters. His character on Golden Girls, she had the affair with, and then the other guy who played the same dude, but remember?
In the earlier season.
Yes.
I'm
blanking on his name too, but they both, Jerry Orbach and him, played the exact same character, just obviously different people, and she had an affair with him. And then Herb Edelman, they all were on the same episode on one episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Oh my God.
Right? That is a Golden Girls dream. I think during the break, I'm gonna find that episode and then I'll mention it when we come back. But him on Murder, She Wrote, seeing him with Angela Lansbury, it gives me the same vibe because Angela was so close with B. Arthur. In a weird way, it feels like they all were in this sort of respected class of actors that just sort of liked each other,
Yeah. And the overlapping, I mean, I think you've discussed it too. Like, if there only had been like a Murder, She Wrote Golden Girls crossover episode back in the 80s, that would have been like minds blown.
Oh my God. I would have gone insane if that had happened.
Like Jessica Fletcher goes to Miami and like there's a murder on the block on their street, on Richmond Street.
Yeah. Oh my God. That would have literally driven me insane if it would have been like, I don't know. I would have gone crazy. But like with Knots Landing, I don't know Knots Landing as well. You're watching it now, right?
Oh, I mean, Knots Landing, because I'm like a 6-year-old woman. It's one of my all-time favorite shows, even though I was too young to watch it when it was initially on.
Mm-hmm.
But I had an aunt, my Aunt Susan, who would. I remember she was a fan of it, and being little, I remember if we were at a family function or at each other's home, she's like, "Oh, I gotta get home to watch my Knots. I gotta watch Knots." And so this was always baked into my brain of like, what is this show? And I remember seeing like the ads for it on CBS about like blackmail and murder and corporate espionage, all on an all new Knots. And then when I was in high school, it started rerunning on TNT. They had like a block of television every day that I would record on the old VCR.
Yeah.
And that kind of like became my soap opera. I would watch all 14 seasons, one episode a day on a VCR, on a VHS tape, just to see what this whole thing was, what this whole show was about. And and then this was, a long, long time ago. But now that Knots is streaming, I thought to myself, well, let me watch it again and see if it has the same effect. And it's just really cool and fun to watch, knowing where the plot lines are going, but then stumbling upon things that you didn't even realize the first time. And one of them is Herb playing a police detective during a murder mystery plot in like season 11, I want to say.
Yeah, it was in 1990. It was over the course of, I think, a couple of episodes in one season in 1990. And so, it would have been
did you get to watch?
I did. Yeah. I mean, it's enjoyable. It's
and
fun.
Not knowing, out of context, just watching his episode. But he was in like maybe 4 episodes. Like the whole thing was surrounding a body was found floating in the pool in one of the houses on the cul-de-sac. And it was a villain. A villain had been killed. His name was Danny. He was a rapist. He tried to abuse his current wife. And he was really skeevy. So Herb comes in trying to figure out how did Danny's body end up floating in a pool. And so that was
good.
And his partner in his first episode, I don't know where she went afterwards, but she was only in one episode. His partner was played by Pam Grier.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Pam Grier also has had quite a career. Quite a career. I love a Pam Grier. So Herb's career is fantastic, but I do want to, after our break here, I want to focus on a little bit of the Golden Girls and some of the special things within the universe of Golden Girls. So Hiko, don't go anywhere. We're going to come right back. And we are back. Okay, so I fully I want to correct something that I said beforehand. I fully manifested that Herb was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote with Jerry Orbach and Alex Rocco from, who played the Glenn O'Brien character on Golden Girls. In fact, only Alex and Jerry were in the same episode of Murder, She Wrote. I was manifesting it. I hate myself. But then again, I bet Herb was called in for it and he was just like, I'm busy with the other ladies, Angela. I can't do you this week. And I have a feeling that happened. But wouldn't that have been amazing? Maybe we should just write our own fan fiction Murder, She Wrote Golden Girls crossover episode where Stan visits and Jerry Orbach and Alex Rocco are in that.
Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking fanfic. Actually, the t-shirt I'm wearing, I know this is a podcast, but
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing Rose.
Oh,
he's on the phone with Ghostface.
Where did you get that shirt? Everyone watching on YouTube and Patreon, go see it now. It's amazing. Where did you get that shirt?
Ghostface lurking in the background while Rose is on the phone with Ghostface. Just, a Scream. It's like my perfect mashup of like Golden Girls and Scream, and I'm excited for the new movie coming out. But anyway,
I am too.
My boyfriend got me this for like my birthday 2 or 3 years ago. So
I have to say, both you and your boyfriend are delightful Instagram follows. Let's do this in the middle of the episode. Where can people follow you?
I'm at The First Echo on Instagram, and I'm also like into Bookstagram, the Bookstagram community.
Oh,
and I do like nostalgic R.L. Stein content on.
Is there a Bookstagram community? I need to be a part of that.
Yeah, all the bookworms get together and
I need to do that.
Yeah, I'm a big Fear Street fan, so Fear Street Diaries is my Bookstagram. Yeah.
Do you know my buddy Daniel Montgomery, who does a lot of like R.L. Stein related stuff as well?
Yeah, and like he has a lot of blog content. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's great. You should everyone should go look up Daniel Montgomery as well. Okay, Herb on the Golden Girls. So Stan.
Hi, it's me, Stan.
I mean, it just doesn't get any better. If we had to, I feel like I could confidently say if we ranked the top guest stars on the Golden Girls, I have a feeling, what's shocking is I have a feeling Stan would be at the top of that list, but I also have a feeling that multiple Dorothy suitors would be at the top of that list. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, Dick Van Dyke, I think, would be at the top of that list.
Yeah, he's what came to mind first.
The priest from Mother of a Solid Gold Dancer. Like, I mean, I think he would be at the top of that list.
And Leslie Nielsen in the final episode.
Leslie Nielsen would be at the top. I mean, she had, for a woman who got made fun of for not having an active sex life, she had some pretty stellar men.
Well, as suitors, she had a lot of the big guest stars. And I feel like, compared with Blanche had, she had her suitors too, of course, but they weren't the big, I feel like they weren't the big guest stars that Dorothy got.
No, yeah, totally. Well, so like, what is it for you? What is it about that relationship, that Stan character, that you think made him? He really, to me, is the fifth Golden Girl. But like, what are your thoughts on Stanley?
I mean, yeah, I had mentioned, his episodes are not my preferred go-to if I'm going to randomly stream something at night. Although they'll eventually pop in on autoplay, but it's that schmucky quality to him. He's going to do something cringe, as the kids would say, and pull Dorothy in. It just seeing him create such strife and unnecessary stress for Dorothy, like the tax audit and getting into that their building management fiasco with the roaches, and he's such an antagonist, and it just makes you squirm almost, that like, oh, why do our heroines, especially Dorothy, need to like go through that? It's like they don't need that in their lives. And so but I mean, it does make for good TV and good comedy. So that's why he really is the number one like guest star and antagonist to a lot of the storylines. So it's just,
and what I think gets lost, like you were saying, he's not the go-to in terms of when you're looking for that episode to start streaming or whatever it is. But what's interesting about him is, for me, what makes Herb so remarkable as an actor is that he doesn't steal anything. Everything is in service to Dorothy and to making us like Dorothy even more.
Yeah.
And he's such a good actor in that he is playing this like I said before, this delicate dance between being a fuck up schmuck and being an emotional core / touch point for the character of Dorothy Zbornak. It humanizes Dorothy. He humanizes Dorothy in a way that we very rarely see, even amongst the other women, because she's often reacting. And she's even reacting to Stan oftentimes. But he brings something out in her that sometimes is soft or emotional or conflicted or whatever it is in ways that I don't think other characters are able to do or have been able to do on the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's interesting that, of course, Dorothy being the only one who's not a widow
Mm,
on amongst the girls, that she
yeah.
gets that opportunity to have someone from her past enter her life every so often and create
Mhm.
chaos. Whereas opposed, I wonder, it makes me wonder now, like, how would it have been different if like one of the other girls had an ex-husband and Dorothy was
Mm,
a widow? Like, how,
mm,
could you see Blanche dealing with an ex-husband or Rose dealing with an
mm,
ex-husband? It's just interesting how those characters were written to have, well, all of them to be widows except Dorothy. So
mhm.
it's
Yeah, it gives
either.
you it creates a different dynamic than the other women have because the other women clearly always will have the sympathy because, their husbands died.
Yeah.
Whereas Dorothy's is still coming around, knocking on that door, "Hey, it's me, Stan." And what I think, I mean, if you had to go over the Stan episodes and one stands out to you, what 1 or 2 moments of Stan on the show stand out to you?
Uh, I guess. Oh, because like you said, they're all in service of Dorothy, so it's
Mhm,
always a matter of like what how does he serve her character the best? And I
mhm.
think it's the one where one comes to mind is he's getting remarried to Catherine, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
We don't meet her until the very last scene where Dorothy's at the
Mm,
bar eating peanuts with her,
mm,
and it gives Dorothy a chance to, like, tone down what she thinks is her, rekindled emotions for Stan,
mhm,
and seeing him in a different light, and
mm.
wanting him to be happy with his own happy
Yeah.
ending and story. So that I thought was really nice, like a nice Stan episode that served Dorothy well.
Well, and that's
Um
also just a great example of fantastic writing because
Oh, yeah.
at the end of that episode, Stan's not even in it. Stan is it's just this woman that we've never met. And but
Yeah.
yet we have this built-in character that is so familiar to us that we understand Dorothy's emotions in that moment because we've had the season-long relationship with this guest star that we're kind of rooting for even though he's a complete fuck up.
Yeah. And then, of course, the other one that comes to mind is, I guess, his final scene, which is really heartwarming
I
and
have a clip of
bittersweet.
that. I have a
Oh,
clip of that, but before we get to that clip, I
yeah.
do because I mean, I do think there's no Herb Edelman focused episode of this podcast that can't focus on that last moment of between him and Dorothy. Like that's just iconic. Even though he also went on to do an episode of Golden Palace as well. I
Yeah.
should note that. Very weird episode of Golden Palace that I think was delightful to watch, but should maybe be not discussed. Um, but one of my favorite moments. I have a few favorite moments with Stan. I really enjoy the episode where Sophia gets hurt and he kind of finagles. They kind of this scheme to sort of. There's something about Stan's character interacting with the other women that I find really enjoyable when he goes out on dates with Blanche, when he whatever like those moments I just kind of love because you see him in a different way because the women clearly have they're annoyed by him, but also they have a different relationship with him than Dorothy, you know?
Yeah, they don't have that history. Uh,
Exactly.
and when you said that, that reminds me too of I think it's the first time we saw the softer, compassionate side of Stan when Sophia's in the hospital with like pneumonia and she's
Yeah.
like, it's like a serious case of pneumonia and he like steps up. It really gives him a showcase to step up.
That episode, oh god. It like I mean, I think I think everyone who watches, who's a fan of the Golden Girls, we watch for reasons that are varied, but oftentimes it relates to, these are family members of ours. Like the girls, these stories become parts of our own odd family history as well, and we're all sharing it in our own way. And I remember watching that episode on Lifetime when I was a kid, and my parents had divorced, and I just kind of watched it being like, oh, it would be great if my parents could fight for me again together in that way. You know what I mean? Like I had a real emotional reaction to them being back together, because in a weird way, it kind of was like something that I was hoping for my parents to do, even though that would be horrible if they did.
Wait, on second thought now, was that the same episode where Stan's about to get married? Is that what rekindles?
Oh, I think maybe
Dorothy?
I'm not, Kerri would be the one, and she's not here today, but she would be the one to give me that answer. And she has baby brain, and I effectively have a lifetime of baby brain. So I'm not that person, but people listening, please answer for yourself.
Chime in, please.
But I do want to play. There is one episode that I love of Stan, and it is when Uncle Angelo comes to visit, and Sophia has not told him that Dorothy and Stan are divorced, and they have to put up this ruse that they're still together. And then the hurricane comes, and there's needy, sexy people, and there's like things happening. And so I want to play this short little clip of Dorothy and Stan in the bedroom that night.
Dorothy, I know it's been a while, but try and control yourself. I need some rest. What the hell is that for?
You're not getting into this bed, Stanley.
Then where am I supposed to sleep?
On the floor like any dog.
Oh, fine.
It's just, there are just so many great little moments of Dorothy's comebacks to Stan that there were just too many to choose from. I wanted to choose that one just because I love it. And I love him being pushed off the bed.
Yeah. And that people, I mean, that's where like her maudness comes out the most, I think, whenever she's fighting with him.
Reacting to him, exactly. But there's also, too, in that scene, you also see why she fell in love with him, because he does have a way of making her feel, when he starts singing, what was it, Gershwin? When he starts singing, and it's just so sweet to see them like that, you know?
It makes me, it makes you wonder, like, they must have been really in love, and just to see a flashback of how they were. And it reminds me of those AI memes that are out now, people designing AI. It's some Instagram account. I forgot what it's called. Wicker. No, I forgot. I'm like messing up the name. But someone did AI art of like the whole saga of each girl's story.
I recently, I think you sent
Blanche,
me or
a
something.
miniseries, and it's a carousel of slides of like just showing and reflecting all of the stories that Blanche has told, and then all of the stories and history that you know of Dorothy.
Yeah, so the account is called, for anyone listening, Wicker Good Memes.
Yeah.
And they I don't usually like AI, but like
I know
sometimes it can get you. Sometimes it can get you, and you guys can find it for yourselves. But it's called. There's one thing that I'm looking at called "The Tallest Baby in the History of New York," Dorothy Zbornak story.
I mean, whoever did this AI art, they're a Golden Girls fan. They know the minutia of their history.
Oh my God, they really. I mean, look at Sophia and her mom watching Dorothy on stage.
The Little Miss Brooklyn contest.
So stupid.
Yeah.
It is so stupid. Changing the tire. I can't. So yeah, I mean, I have a conversation about AI, but that's actually good. No, but there is this sort of, I don't know. It's just sweet to see them together like that. But then as the season, because that was kind of middle of the show's run, towards the end of the show's run, we're seeing Herb a lot more, actually. He's in quite a few episodes towards the end, with the monkey and with the hurricane where he sleeps with Dorothy's sister.
Yep.
And like, I mean, there's lots of episodes where Herb is used to sort of drive a reactionary story from Dorothy, where we get to see, and I think it actually works out really well, and then the final episode where Dorothy gets married, because we see so much of her evolving from Stan over those episodes.
Yeah. And it's interesting, those later seasons, as we got into the 90s, you see the show start to do more serialized storytelling, like elements from a previous episodes carrying into another one, like the Monkey Show, like, a lot of those crossover episodes. But and like, when Dorothy starts having feelings again for Stan, and they almost get married, it's the crossover episodes. That's like another episode I'm sure to talk about. I was all about Nurses and Empty Nest as well.
Me too. I loved them.
And being a little kid, I even remember like the promos for like the sweeps. The sweeps. It was a sweep stunt back in the day, and there's like the full moon, like storylines and hurricane. And it was like a Saturday night.
Good.
Like,
so good. So many great moments from those. I loved Nurses so much. So stupid of a show. Lonnie Anderson, why? But I loved it so much. So, okay. So as we see these episodes in the end, where we're seeing more and more of Dorothy and Stan's relationship, and we get to that last episode where Dorothy obviously is marrying Leslie Nielsen's character. And of course, there's that wonderful moment, the rare moment of a exterior location shot on the Golden Girls, where Dorothy's in the back of a limousine driven by Stanley. He has kidnapped her. I mean, that really is, he has kidnapped her. Like, he's done something very secretive, and now is holding a bride captive in a limo. But in a dress that is made of toilet paper rolls. But
that infamous dress.
There is this beautiful exchange that lives rent-free in my mind at the end of that scene, that I want to play right quick, because it's just so goddamn sweet.
It said, "Our beds are crowded. When I sleep with Lucas, I'm not alone. There's this phantom of you there, and he has the haunts of his prior relationships, and well, I can't pretend you're not a part of me."
So what are you saying? You slept with this guy?
Stanley, you're missing my point. We named it! What I'm saying is, thank you. Stanley, for the first time in a long while, you're really acting like a man.
I love you, Dorothy. I've always loved you.
And I love you, Stanley.
And then she pulls the hair, and then she just pulls that little rogue hair that he has left.
And shout out to Freddie Peterson.
Yes. I mean, wow, what an episode. Obviously an incredible final episode of a sitcom, but also it gave us the closure of Dorothy and Stan that I think we desperately needed. In that, I mean, it's just one of the most important guest stars, of course, of the series, but also too, it made Dorothy's and the final episode story wrap up that much sweeter because of this, I think.
Yeah, I like the dynamic of them putting that closure on their dynamic. But that's another episode I will try to, it's not my preference, or I'll avoid it.
I'll cry.
Well, yeah, that too. And I mean, this might be controversial, but it's, out of series finales, it's not my favorite.
That is controversial, Hiko. How can you say that? What do you mean? Explain yourself.
I know, upon like thinking,
I love a hot take, though. I love a hot take.
I mean, I know it's controversial, but living with these characters for 7 seasons, and I just feel like, especially, I guess, from today's standards on how shows are wrapped up and done, especially sitcoms, and watching it, I guess it's unfairly to say, watching it through a 2026 or 2025 lens, that I've been noticing it and realizing it for myself. Looking back, it just felt so rushed to me. How the final episode came about, her.
You mean in terms of her getting married and meeting this man? Like, you would have expected a Sex and the City Russian buildup of 7 episodes of her getting to know Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, and of course, I know episodes weren't written like that, especially for sitcoms back in the day. They were very much episodic. So, but it starts out like any other episode where there's like a misunderstanding or like they're lying to Blanche about falling in love to get back at her, and it develops so quickly, and then we have like the 6 months later title card come up and they're in love and engaged, and it's like,
I get it. No, I don't agree, but I get it. One piece of context that I think is important for this hot take, which I support and appreciate, is that while I think you're right when you previously said that they were getting allowing a storyline to continue over a number of episodes, and it was getting away from that sort of episodic vibe that was traditional sitcoms, where it was just a story for that episode that week and whatever, new story next week, whatever it is. But I think that only existed because the show, I think the writers and the producers and people acknowledged this show is massive. Yeah. Everyone knows who this, we're not going to dumb people into reintroducing characters that we know they know. We know they know these people. And I don't think that they were intentionally making it sort of like a serialized in the way that we experience it in the streaming age, because I still feel like it was episodic, especially this last episode. They did want to have it contained in this one episode because it was a traditional sitcom. It was, and I think they weren't thinking outside of the terms of a traditional sitcom. So if you think in terms of a traditional sitcom, then the rushness that we feel in the streaming age, in the lens of 2026, I think actually feels very fitting for 1992 in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah. And of course, I take into consideration the context of what was going on behind the scenes. Like they had to wrap up Dorothy because she didn't want to do an 8th season. Yeah. The other girls were going to be spun off into Golden Palace. I think in an alternate universe, if there was an 8th season of the Golden Girls and they all agreed to end together, there might have been a more satisfying finale where each girl gets her own closing chapter.
That's interesting. I mean, yes, I'm never going to be mad at more Golden Girls, so I'd be a fan of that. But I also I'm not fully on board with it being a rushed episode because I love it and think it's one of the best final episodes. I mean, I avoid it only because I will cry if
it still gets to me. And when she runs out back into the house 3 times and like, knowing the tears that you the sniffling you hear is like real from Blanche and Rose, and
but also knowing that, because we both were surprised to learn that Herb had passed away in 1996 at the age of 62, which means in this scene he was only 58 years old or around that. And so he's only 58 years old and he's not going to be with us much longer. And so when we watch this scene, it brings about an emotional response for me now in seeing it, that I'm just sort of, I respect his career so much, but also too, I look at the scene in a different way because even if you look at the scope of his entire career, which we've mostly done on this episode, the Golden Girls is still the biggest thing. It is the thing that he is known for in our world, but also in popular culture. That is what he is most known for. And so to have a end scene with the star of, at this moment, the star of the story of the final episode, and to have it be this sweet and this standout of a story is such a fitting send-off for an actor that just gave so much.
Yeah, it takes on a whole new meaning now watching that.
Yeah, it really does. Oh, I love it. And I love that you had this idea for this episode.
Well, and also just quick note too, after I rewatched, I mean, I'm almost finished with Knots Landing, but while I been rewatching it, I went to a friend's movie night. He does every January he does something called Chanuary, and he shows a Jackie Chan movie.
I love your friend. I don't know him, but I love him.
And I just, this is my 3rd or 2nd year doing it. And he puts on this random movie from 1984 called Wheels on Meals, not Meals on Wheels, Wheels on Meals.
Okay.
From 1984. It was shot in Barcelona, and it's Jackie Chan and his brother playing these food truck cooks, fry cooks, who are also martial artists. But Herb Edelman is in 2 scenes in this random Jackie Chan movie the year before Golden Girls comes out. If you find it, look it up. He appears in 1 scene, I think, in the very beginning, in the first 20 minutes, and then one maybe at the end. But it's so random. I just had to mention that too.
Talk about a journeyman actor, someone who was discovered by Mike Nichols in it driving a cab that Mike Nichols, genius director, writer, comedian, like that he was discovered by Mike Nichols and then went on to have this reliable career where you might not know his name, but you know his face. And we in the Golden Girls community love him dearly. And so I'm so glad we were able to do this. Don't go anywhere because we're going to have a golden takeaway when we come back. So we'll be right back. And we are back with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget of truth or inspiration that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. Now, Hiko, I will start things off because you are a guest here and I want to be respectful of that. My golden takeaway from this episode is, we both live in Los Angeles and where are you from originally?
New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. And, when I was growing up, I'd see these actors on TV and, if anyone was on TV, they were famous to me. Like if you just were on television, you're just famous to me. And there are actors who are character actors, supporting actors often, who just make a living being an actor and being a personality and being a reliable entertainer. I'm thinking of, the person I'm thinking of that I am relating to this is now a good friend of mine, Melissa Peterman, who obviously she was on Reba. She's currently on Happy's Place with Reba. I mean, she's really made a career similar to Herb in that she's a reliable actor, a reliable supporting character to the star, in her case, Reba, in Herb's case, B. Arthur. And in coming to LA, I've learned that these are just sort of obviously regular people who live and have normal houses and are just in the entertainment industry acting, sure, and they have these like very high exposure jobs with these very high exposure stars that they support, but they're also just normal people. And in my friendship with Melissa, I kind of like to think that Herb was sort of a similar vibe in that he was just a normal dude who went to Brooklyn College because he liked to act and then drove a cab to support himself and got noticed and just had a normal life where people in the industry, big stars, fawned over him and his ability like B. Arthur did in that Academy interview. And that I kind of love that as he's just, it humanizes him in a really delightful, wonderful way. And so my golden takeaway is, it really is just to say how much I enjoy and love Herb Edelman. And I love living in LA and I love working in the world in which we do, both of us do,
Yeah. Well, yeah, that inspires my golden takeaway because, I think about how much he probably would have loved if he were still with us. He'd love all of the resurgence in popularity of the show. I can imagine him going to Golden Con or going out to the Pride Live event that I got to go to last summer where, Jim Colucci, who we know, Stan Zimmerman, they hosted a great panel on the 40th anniversary. I'm sure he would have been participating in the festivities for the show's anniversary. And, my other takeaway is I think I want to do a slight rewatch of some Murder, She Wrote episodes with all of the Golden Girl alums in them in particular.
We will be doing some other beyond episodes where I think we do more Murder, She Wrote because people really want us to do more Hot in Cleveland, which I very much want to do.
Well, on that note, if you probably know already, but if you have Pluto TV, there's a 3-hour block of Hot in Cleveland episodes every morning.
Wow.
If you're in LA, it's between 8 and 11 every morning on Pluto TV. It's on the Paramount Pix channel. And that I kind of do that before I watch The View on YouTube. I'll watch a Hot in Cleveland or two.
We live very similar lives. But yeah, Murder, She Wrote is definitely going to, and Mama's Family is another one that people want us to do more of, but there aren't enough girls in Mom. I mean, except for that first season. Anyway, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
People know where to go. I'll put your Instagram in the show notes of this episode. So please go follow Hiko there and is there anything you're working on that you want to plug or something coming up that like an article or anything that you're super proud of?
Oh, I wish. It's been kind of slow, but I'm working. I'm trying to get a thriller novel out and sold and represented. So I've been working on that and pitching another nonfiction book about R.L. Stein, actually. So
oh, wonderful. That's fantastic. Well, then people should go follow you immediately. Click that little link in the show notes of this episode. And thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was so much fun after all this time. I'm so happy to be here.
It'll happen again. Don't worry. Don't worry. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the podcast. We really do appreciate it. Leave a little rating and review wherever you're listening to this. Of course, you can follow us everywhere on social media. We're part of Mom Plus. You can go there, but you can also follow us at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, Out on the Lanai Official on Instagram, Golden Girls Pod on Facebook, and I am HAlanScott /Sadie Pines on everything. Please comment on the Instagram post and a rating and review and do all the things the internet tells you to do. And in the meantime, remember, as always, stay golden. So weird doing that alone. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel right.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.